thing you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck.
Yeah!
Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. And term limits ain't going to do you any good. You're just going to wind up with a brand new bunch of selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe something else sucks around here. Like the public. Yeah, the public sucks. There's a nice campaign slogan for somebody. The public sucks. Fuck hope. Fuck hope. Because if it's really just the fault of these politicians, then where are all the other bright people of conscience? Where are all the bright, honest, intelligent Americans ready to step in and save the nation and lead the way? We don't have people like that in this country. Everybody's at the mall, scratching his ass, picking his nose, taking his credit card out of his fanny pack and buying a pair of sneakers with lights in them. So I have solved this little political dilemma for myself in a very simple way. On election day, I stay home. I don't vote. Fuck them. Fuck them. I don't vote. Two reasons I don't vote. First of all, it's meaningless. This country was bought and sold and paid for a long time ago. The shit they shuffle around every 4 years doesn't mean a fucking thing. And secondly, I don't vote because I believe if you vote, you have no right to complain. People like to twist that around, I know. They say, well, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? If you vote and you elect dishonest, incompetent people and they get into office and screw everything up, well, you are responsible for what they have done. You caused the problem. You voted them in. You have no right to complain. I, on the other hand, who did not vote, who in fact did not even leave the house on election day, am in no way responsible for what these people have done and have every right to complain as loud as I want about the mess you created that I had nothing to do with. So I know that a little later on this year you're going to have another one of those really swell presidential elections that you like so much. You'll enjoy yourselves. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure as soon as the election is over, your country will improve immediately. As for me, I'll be home on that day doing essentially the same thing as you. The only difference is when I get finished masturbating, I'm going to have a little something to show for it, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred. We are nothing sacred.
With Maxwell Silverhammer.
We are nothing sacred. With cruise control. We are nothing sacred.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Here we are.
We are back again. You may have heard some Carlin before that, just a little intro.
Yeah.
Before Nothing Sacred. And
Absolutely.
if you didn't, then I probably forgot to put it on there. This is the Nothing Sacred shrink wrap. I am Cruise Control.
I'm Maxwell Silverhammer.
And I'm Luie Loke.
We got the Lokester in the house.
Yeah, man. For the shrink wrap, like we always do every
Absolutely.
month.
Absolutely.
Well, okay.
Every time you go away, you take a piece of me with Lou.
Oh, nice.
See,
that was good, man.
I'm just fucking around. So we got a jam-packed, action-packed fucking extravaganza this evening. I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
Of course we do,
except
man.
a little bit of what we're talking about. But it is that time of the year where we're all coming together as Americans and as people who can bridge the gap between our differences Yeah, that's happening in our country right now. Oh boy.
Well, sounds like you want to go there.
Well, I'm going to go wherever. I mean, we're as long as it doesn't take as long as the vote count in Arizona, we'll be fine.
Wow. Yeah. No kidding, right?
Yeah. Well, that's fucking funny. Think about this, guys. We've been running this country for hundreds of years, and every election up to the last two, it was every night you could find, you get the results.
You know who the winner was,
same
right?
night, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they start doing mail-in voting, which means we should make it easier because the votes are going to already be there and they could all be counted at once.
Right.
How is it that Florida counts 7.5 million votes in like 4 hours, and Arizona takes about 17 days to count 2 million?
Shit, dude, we didn't find out who our governor was until Friday night.
And
so,
and
it's 3 days later. Like
it's not Sisalsak anymore.
No, thank God. No, not Similac. So
yeah, fucking ridiculous.
But
Epicac.
Pretty much.
But, so what do we want to start with first? We got a bunch of stuff. You want to go? You're raring.
I'm raring.
You're chomping at the bit to go, man. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your little?
Well, this is a little off topic, but I went on a date with somebody that I'm kind of digging right now, and that's going really well. And I kind of realized, man, I like women that make me step out of my comfort zone, that make me feel a little bit vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like my balls aren't always, 10 feet from the ground or whatever, where, because there were some things tonight, like one thing she called me on, she was like, why do you close your eyes when you're talking to me? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't even know I did that. And because nobody's ever told me. So I thought it was cool that she actually told me that. And now I'm conscious of it. So it's like, fuck, because you want to look normal, obviously. And that's a big thing for me. I don't want to fit the blindo stereotype.
Well, I mean, I guess, but it's interesting though that you're probably wondering if and paying attention whether you do it to everybody, which you probably do.
Which is it's good. I should be conscious of that. But I guess what I'm saying is I do like, when women
you should just tell her that you're thinking internally when you're talking to her, so you have to close your eyes.
tell her that you're closing your eyes, so that when you hear her voice, the sounds, the sonic sonar bounces off. It's easier for you to picture her face in your mind's eye.
I like it.
Because I'm sure you felt her face multiple times already.
Did I feel her? No, I haven't felt her face, man.
Come on, man, you haven't done that yet, dude. Oh
yeah, because all blind people do that.
That's when it's real. When you feel her face. Can I feel your face? Let me see
that's
you.
Such bullshit.
I know, it's total bullshit.
Let me feel your
face. I had one lady actually do that to me. She was blind, but she was I guess she had been, sighted for like the majority of her life, and she was like in her 80s or something like that.
Oh, so she just
I was like, yeah, she was like, well, let me feel your face. And then she's like, how beautiful. And I'm like, okay, lady, you're a little wackerdoodle.
Should have asked her if you could smell her pussy.
No, I was 11.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's even better.
Yeah, that's even better. You'd probably get away with it better than you would if you're older.
It's like that's what that song, I can't feel my face when I'm with you.
Right. But yeah, no, I like that though. I like a chick that makes me step out of my comfort zone, because Michelle, not Shell, but Michelle was that way too, where she had me doing things sometimes that I wasn't 100% comfortable with, but I would do them, and I'm like, hey, this is good. I don't want somebody who just is a yes ma'am.
Well, you don't want the mom syndrome, which is what Shell was. She was the mom type, the take care type.
Yeah.
And it's boring for you, because I'm sure it's probably in similar things, like when you're eating or sitting there, she's like, I'll bring up somebody. She's probably like more like no nonsense, like the turkey, where it's like, all right, you got fucking food on the side of your face. Clean that shit off.
Yeah. Or like tonight where I grabbed the pizza and all the topping and shit was falling off. She's like, you're losing all your toppings here. She was like, roll it up. And I'm like, okay,
She's getting pissed off at you.
Well, she wasn't getting mad. She was just like, let me know.
Being matter of fact, no bullshit. None of that fucking, we gotta be careful for the feelings of the blinky.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to offend him. I don't want, see, that's the shit that bothers me, when somebody's so worried about what they're going to say, and that they'll say the wrong thing and make me mad. This is just really matter of fact. Like, hey, you're closing your eyes when you're talking to me. You're dropping food off your shit, so I dig that, man. I like when.
Well, I think it's probably.
I know we're jumping at the bit as far as like it being a long-term thing, but you got to watch out for that too. Like I love strong women too.
Right.
Like that's just my thing. A woman who tells me exactly what's on her mind.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes it gets on my nerves. Like, sometimes my wife will say something and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't even want to hear that right now. Like, I don't want to hear you say my little flaws right now.
Well, it's an interesting thing because you might like the forwardness in a certain ways, but you have to know where it's coming from. Because I think a lot of times what happens is there are people that love to point out shit about yourself, like, oh, you got food on your face, not to be helpful,
just because they're dicks,
but to kind of point out something that makes you feel a little awkward or kind of put you off base. Like some people like, and they'll cover it up by saying stuff like, oh, well, I'm just brutally honest.
Yeah, no, this isn't that. This is, but I know what you're saying though. It's well, hell, my brother's that way.
Be careful. Exactly. Be careful with that because it could be refreshing now, but then you're in a shitty, you're in a bad mood or something like that, or she'll try to pull the rug out. I'm not saying she will, but people will try to pull the rug out from under you.
Right.
And then they'll say, well, I'm just being honest, when they really just don't want to see you shine. That makes any sense.
No, some people are just insecure fuckers and they're going to point, they're always going to point out flaws all the time, so. Yeah.
It's like the person, let's say you got a boogie in your nose, right?
Yeah.
And you're around a bunch of different people, maybe, and instead, and you don't realize it. But the person who's honest with you will tap you and, hey, dude, you got a little booger on your nose, like that. The asshole will go, hey, you got a booger, and point it out in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying?
I remember with you had a relative the one time, I guess you had food on your face or something. And they were like, dude, you got food on your face. Go wipe it off. And you were just like, oh, okay. And he was like, you look like a retard. And I was just like, okay, yeah, that's kind of the dickhead thing, like what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Who was that?
Mike.
Oh yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
well, it's like, hey, fuck you. Like you can
the
say
way he
something.
said it, was just real insulting. So,
but that's interesting. So it's just those little things that because you're so used to being fucking coddled and being soft-handed or whatever. What's the term?
Kid gloves.
Kid gloves.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
I'm used to that kind of shit. So sorry, Lou, we've been fucking running over you here, man. Did you have anything to add to this or?
Oh no, I've been adding stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said something, and I think he's kind of like especially when you're in a relationship for a lot longer. Like I'm sure your wife or your partner knows when she can push that and say that most of the time. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes I can tell that she does it out of spite. Hey, it's all good. I mean, I do stuff out of spite.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
Yeah, I do stuff out of spite myself. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we do, of course, because people, certain people piss us off and we're like, oh, fuck this person, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, no, we had a really good time and we talked for a long ass time. She had to get to work though, eventually. So we had to end it, but it was fun. We had a good time though, man.
It was cool, man. And it's interesting how when you get older, I'm not sure how Lou, you guys have been married for what, decades now?
Yeah. Right? How long have you guys been married, Louie?
17 years.
17
he goes,
years. so 17 years. So
I was laughing at that decades thing that you said. I was like,
well, technically it's one. Yeah, I know, but it makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, decades. Jeez. I was married to my first wife for almost a decade.
It felt more like 2 decades, right?
It's interesting though, because probably back then, when you're in your when you're 30s or whatever, you're still got that. You still give a shit about that you believe in all that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like all the
right. Everything's the
idealistic shit, and you're still kind of in that mode where you're like. Where you're like trying to push things and you're worried about every goddamn thing the person says, and you're like, oh God, I really like this person. I gotta be. And so you are kind of like that kid glove, regardless of whether you want to be or not. You're like, I don't want to say anything to ruin this. Well, now when we're, older, especially, I don't know how you guys were like that, but like me and Max right now, at least I can tell you from my experience, if I find a woman interesting now, it's, I find you interesting. It's not,
yeah. Well, you get into the person like you're really into them, but you're not stupid over them. Like you're not doing dumb shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you kind of like it's interesting that you're older and you have less time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet you're taking more of it to figure out whether it's worth it for you. Like when it's kind of the interesting part about it is when you're younger, you have all your time, more time. Not technically, no one knows how much time they have, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like when you're 55 and you're like trying to find someone, and you're going to take longer than when you're 20 to find someone because you're like, I'm not going to waste my,
But I think what you're also saying is that you're less prone to like being like rejected. Like, who cares if I get rejected? Like, next person,
Right.
You don't like me, I don't care. Like,
Right. Well, and you move slower too. You don't have these crazy expectations. Like you're going, okay, well, let's see. Okay, we haven't done this yet, but so who gives a shit? We're gonna get there.
Maybe a good analogy would be like when you're younger, you drive that car at 80. So when shit goes bad, you crash and burn. While when you're older, you're driving much slower. So if shit does go south, you're kind of like, I kind of see this coming.
Right.
Driving Miss Daisy at that point.
Mid Daisy?
Yeah, Mid Daisy.
Miss Daisy. It's like, but
I'm
serious.
to drive you to the stove.
Yeah. It's like when you're younger, like, oh, let's go full bore. Let's go into it. Let's do this. And then all of a sudden you get your ass handed to you. And bam. Like now it's like, oh, this is great. I really like this. Oh, well, now I'm noticing. No.
Right. You're kind of prepared in case something does happen. You're like, well, I've seen this movie a couple times, so, but yeah,
cool, man. It's good. It's good to know that you're finding somebody like that, because I'll tell you, man, dude, it ain't Luie, you're lucky, give your wife a big hug and a big kiss, because you don't want to be in this guy.
I know
shit.
Yeah, imagine if you were still dating.
Dude.
Oh, God.
I know I'm lucky. The thing is that I don't know what the hell I actually don't think I'm like the greatest catch ever or whatever, but I've had relationships since I was like 15, 16 years old. And like it's almost like I have to have one almost, it's kind of a weird thing.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's something that's wrong with me. But hey, I'm in a marriage right now, so hey, I'm good.
You're happy with that, so at least it's something you're happy with, man. Imagine if you had to go back out there again, and
especially right now, and that goes along with what we're saying, like, because I've realized something. I can't date someone who's woke, and that's kind of going into our other subject.
Yeah,
it's like differences of opinion.
And she's not woke either, by the way, just so you know.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's freaking. And it's because it's like a religion now, but it's not like it used to. It used to be.
I think I may have told you this too. My wife was conservative before I was even conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She kind of brought you in, huh?
So she kind of me and her would have arguments, but I would be on the woke side. Well, not even the woke side, because even back then, liberal didn't mean woke.
Yeah.
Right.
Now liberal is conservative.
Yeah.
Basically, liberals are conservative now, and they're basically so far skewed.
Yeah.
Like I could date someone. I used to never be able to think I could date someone who's Christian. I don't know if we talked about this before.
Oh yeah,
you may have.
I think you did mention that at some point.
But I could never date someone who's woke. But now I'm like, I could date a Christian girl as long as she's not fucking
jamming it down your throat. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and trying to indoctrinate you or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
where I wanted to go with this to start with, and it kind of goes with what you were talking about, kids' gloves, is there's like a huge schism in our country in terms of like that left conservative, right, like even mildly liberal people are leftists, and right wingers. It's like this fucking irrational distrust that just wasn't there like 20 years ago. There was, of course, oh, you're a right winger and you're left wing, but you could go out and have lunch together. Still.
Right. Like now that's of importance, with people you associate with. If you're like, oh shit, they're woke. All right, stay away, kind of.
Well, it's irrational. It's like you got fucking, and I think that goes back to tribalism, because we're basically a herd species, right? A social species. So it almost feels good to be a part of a group, especially now, I think, because we're so isolated on the internet. Like we're all have our own little like fucking world where we go wherever we want to go, and we kind of can find groups that are more and more batshit like we are, individually.
Right.
And so you get stuck, but we always
like-minded, right?
Yeah, like-minded, and we still have the need to belong. Like even if we're all over the place and go wherever you want. There's still this pack mentality.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I've been thinking about this a little bit. Like people want to believe they're right on the right team.
Yeah, I'm with the good guys.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever, kind of thing. Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
and I think it's sometimes you get stupid. Like when Joe Biden smells some girl's hair, you got some fucking dude who normally would be like, that's fucking weird, but they're fucking locked into their, well, I voted for Joe Biden. Well, that's not that bad. He smells fucking kids' hair.
Right.
What?
Yeah, you're right. So they tend to overlook the fucked up things that the person does, because they piss gold to that person.
Or if they don't want their side to lose. It's like sports now. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's like, well, the team, the what do they call it? The party line. Regardless of where the party goes, they're going to go.
Exactly. Regardless of where the party goes, and also whether people do batshit crazy shit. Oh, Hunter, his laptop. Oh, well, same thing with Trump. Oh, mega America. I mean, anybody who doesn't realize that Donald Trump is a narcissistic blowhard is not looking close enough. I mean, you might like his policies, but he's a great man who cares about this country.
I mean,
I don't think so. I think he gives a shit about himself. Now, the policies he might have are great for the country in some ways, but he's not this fucking great man, in my opinion.
No, I wouldn't put him on a pedestal. No,
but that's what they fucking do. It's crazy. Like you can go, hey, I like Trump, but man, Trump, dude, he'd stand in front of a fucking train to save a child or whatever. I don't
Well, then there's the people that hate him so bad too. Where that's just like nothing he does is good. Regardless of what he does, he could save a kid from a burning building. Oh, well, he's still a fuckface, whatever. So, but there we go with the herd mentality again.
Yeah, and I guess it just feels good to be part of a group. I mean,
I guess everyone, they do want to just belong. I guess I'm a this, I'm a that. Let me have a label. Let me be in my.
Hell, even the independents or the rebels, even the independents who are the rebels, they still have a label.
Yes.
I'm part of the Green Party, or I'm part of the Libertarian Party, or I'm part of the Independent Party.
Oh yeah,
still have a label.
Yep.
And I think the scary part is it's happening with everything now.
Yeah.
Like it's like fucking it's not just like, it's everything. Like fucking movies, books, every fucking celebrities, politics, identity politics. It's like, if you fucking like the new Lord of the Rings show, which I think it's absolute shit, right?
I don't watch any of that shit.
There are people out there who will go, "You're a fucking idiot for it's like, what the fuck?" Like,
just because you don't like some shit. No, you know what? I've noticed that. Like, and this kind of goes a little far back because with the movie Avatar, you remember everybody was on the dick about Avatar and they loved Avatar. And I was like, dude, some guy was like, well, dude, you should see it. And I'm like, well, it's just not my kind of movie. And he's like, why not, man? Why not? And I'm just giving me shit as to why. And I'm like, dude, that's not my genre. I'm just not into that kind of stuff. Sorry. It's like a romance. Well, it's a really good story. Well, who gives a fuck? I'm not into it. I don't feel it. Sorry. So yeah, it's groupthink bullshit again, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah. Speaking of the voting, Luie, did you have any issues with the accessible voting equipment this time?
Actually, no.
And
I don't know if it's because I'm part of the conservative state of Texas and they got their shit together.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say it's because you're part of the great state of Texas.
The great state of don't mess with Texas. No, because I'll tell you, the last time I went and voted in 2020, I think I told that story on here where I tried to go use the accessible voting equipment. They couldn't get it to work. Nobody's trained on this shit. That's the problem. And then they came back and gave me some bullshit story that they were offline and they couldn't do anything. And they said, can your friend help you? So I had to tell the person that brought me, who I was voting for. So meaning I have to speak who I'm voting for out loud, which I really didn't feel comfortable doing, but I had to do it. Well, this time, same shit. Well, it started out to be the same shit. Where I even heard the girl whisper to the other girl, have you ever used one of these before? And she's like, no. And I'm just like, man, these motherfuckers aren't even trained on this shit. So anyway, and I
encountered that.
Well, they eventually got it working for me.
Check this out though. The person that I went to the voting Well, I went with my wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the person who was actually helping to run the voting booth,
Yeah,
the voting
poll
place,
people, whatever. Yeah.
yeah. She was a church member of mine, so she's like, "Oh, we know about this machine." She's like, "I don't know all the ins and outs of how to use it, but we'll figure it out." You know, she's like, "I know." When I knew that you were coming in, I knew we were gonna have to get this ready. Like,
Oh,
so
okay.
I kind of had a little bit of a a heads up in a way, you know.
Okay. Yeah. See, I went in and you know, I put the headphones on and I can't get it to work. She's like, "Is it talking? Is it saying anything?" I'm like, "No, it isn't." So I will say, to their credit, man, they were running around. She got on the phone with somebody and the person's walking her through what to do and what to press. Eventually they did get it to work. So I was able to vote without using, you know, without having to, you know, get my Sighty McSistence, my retard repair squad,
Well,
you know,
right.
I'm not retard repair squad. I think that just shows, Max, how much of a minority you really are.
I know,
because no one else came to use that machine but you, and it was
Probably
probably a busy voting area.
you know what, you might be right. I might have been the only person that came in there to do that, you know. So,
which I think is interesting because you'd think there'd be more blinkers around who use those things.
I don't know though, man. A lot of blinkies, like everything else, you know, they don't feel like they have to do anything. You know, that there's no accountability for any shit, and they just kind of, you know, just do whatever. Like, oh, okay, well,
yeah. See, that's that group herd mentality I was talking about, man, before.
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, what does it matter? I you know, it's too much for me to go vote. You know, although I'm surprised, like the Blind Center didn't like take a busload of them to some.
No, they're too busy going on Ferris wheels and
that's true.
Candy.
And going to bugle class and their Walmart trips. Yeah.
I guess what I'm doing is I'm making the point as what I'm doing now is that you are dividing yourself between those blinkies and yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm not that motherfucker.
There's those fucking blinkers. There's those fucking blindos. And then there's you. You're on the good blind team. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so there we go again. More herd shit.
Now, but there's obviously a healthy way of doing that because it's necessary to form communities and to survive, because we had to do that when we were younger.
Yeah.
Not younger. Youngers are species, you know, when we were fucking living in the forest and shit.
Yeah, eating trees and fucking dead squirrels and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you ever heard, by the way, Luie, have you ever heard the idea? I don't know what it's called. But it kind of goes along with this, and this is why we're all so crazy in terms of finding our team, is that it's like you only really know about 100 people at most, like in your life total. Like you only have a small sphere of influence of people that actually matter to you. And like other people actually don't matter at all, but you say they matter to you, but they don't really. Like I don't know what that's called. What is that?
Is there a term for that? Yeah. What is that? I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what the specifics. Like you have your circle of people that do really matter, but there's other people that are in your life, but they're kind of flat characters. You know, you don't really, you know, like.
In the addictions kind of sphere, they call that like inside world, middle world, and outside world. So your inside world is your little sphere of influence, right? Okay. And your middle world is kind of like the people that are a little bit away, but they're still kind of there, but they're kind of more acquaintances and things of that nature. And then you have the outside world that you've either pushed away or that have just gravitated totally away from you, so that they're not even in your world at all.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of something similar to that. Other than that, I can't think of anything psychologically discussing anything like, you know, I get what you're saying, but I don't know any terms other than that.
Because it used to be like we'd have villages, right? I mean, and this is the way how it used to work more in the world, is because we didn't have transportation, like fast transportation. So like you'd have villages that were clusters of like 100 to 200 people, right? And everyone knew each other. You know, like everyone knew each other. There's like a community there. I'm just wondering if all this fucking technology and the ability to just go all over the goddamn world, and to actually even living in fucking cities with millions of people, it's fucked us up a little bit, like psychologically, you know, like.
Well, that makes sense. So like thinking about that, like if you feel like you're a part of a group because you're part of an internet group, but you don't really know those people like on a personal level, how could you technically really be a part of that group, right? The only way
Right.
that you can be a part of that group is if you think a certain way about a certain subject matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, and some people
like,
do.
Before the internet, there was this, well, you're part of my friend group because like we actually have other things in common other than one particular subject matter. We have like all these different things in common.
Mhm.
We grew up here, we did this here, we experienced this event, whether
Together
it be a national event or some sort of county fair or some sort of thing that happened in your little town. So like now I think the internet has expanded it, but it's screwed it up too, because you think, oh, we're all in one, all, what is it? All in one and one for all, one for all for one, but it's like really other than the one subject matter that we agree upon, what do we actually have in common other than that one thing?
Yeah.
Probably nothing.
That's interesting. Well, that's what a lot of these Facebook groups are. It's kind of one commonality, like whatever the group's about.
Well, that's what identity politics is about. Yeah, and that's why it's gotten so much worse. Because like one of the worst fucking things I hate hearing is, as a blind person or as a black person, you don't, because it's like a power with speaking for some, like, because they think, oh well, we have the same skin color or the same one characteristic, so therefore I can speak for you too. God, I fucking hate that.
Yeah, right. Like I'm the spokesman for you people,
Right, and the reality is that if you look at like race characteristics, like let's just say black people, okay?
Okay.
You look at black people as a race, the differences between people within that particular race are way different than the actual differences between the races. It's like research proven that, let's say you take a black person from like Barbados or like Jamaica and you compare it to the person that lives here in America, totally different ideals, totally different ways of doing things, totally different foods that they eat. It's just completely different, and it's across the board.
Right.
Really. Right. They lump Asians. Holy smokes, they lump Asians together into there's so many different diversities within the Asian culture. It's pitiful that we just lump them all together and just call them Asians.
Right. Where every Chinese person is the same as a Filipino or whatever.
Right.
Well, this is what I mean. While it's getting worse, because now it's BIPOC. Born indigenous people of color, and that includes brown, black, anybody who's not white.
Oh, by the way,
well, I'm a POC, so I can speak for my name is Jerome. I'm a POC. I can speak for somebody. I can speak for Juan in Mexico because
who's also a POC.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
Well, I went to this. I think
that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I may have told you guys I went to a conference earlier this week, and there was a lot of that talk, about being a POC and microaggressions and all kinds of wild, and I was just like, whoa, dude. And honestly, I hear that stuff a lot from Cruise Control. He talks about it, and I was like, oh, that's probably just some internet shit. This is this is actually some real shit. There's
it's everywhere. It's infiltrated everything now. Like, first of all, this new fucking movie, Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther movie. It's like there's people that are saying if you're white, you should not go yourself, but you should buy a ticket for a black person so they can go.
I've heard that too.
Or because they don't want to ruin the black experience by being a white person in the audience at a Black Panther movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just hearing that makes me not want to see it anyway.
I don't. It's a whole, but it's this whole idea like this movie's for us. And it's like, there's people that don't like the movie and they're black, and that causes people to lose their shit when you don't fit the mold.
Right.
How could you not like what our people's is like?
Yeah, because they'll say shit like you weren't really black, or what they said about Larry Elders. Larry Elders, who ran for governor of California.
Oh yeah.
There was a article in the LA Times that said he was the black face of white supremacy because he was a conservative.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's the same thing with if you don't like abortion. If you're a woman who is pro-life, then you are anti yourself.
Well, I've heard Larry Elder speak quite a bit.
Oh, he's a fantastic orator. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he backs his stuff up with a lot of statistical fact. Not much opinion based stuff.
Right.
So,
He's based it on what he's researched or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
So, but let's take California. California is a complete shithole, right?
Right.
They've got homeless people everywhere. They've got and they got people in their cities are like filled with shit and syringes.
Right. Oh yeah.
And guess who they vote for by a landslide? The same fucking people who have got themselves in the same fucking situation. But God, he's got the blue next to his name. He's got a Democrat D.
Right. And it's like you see that this guy hasn't done anything. Like, what? Hey, look around at what's what's been going on. That's why I was kind of glad, man, in our situation that we didn't make the same mistake twice. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, it's not even a going part. As you can tell, obviously, I think all three of us definitely.
We lean to the right, for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely not. I think I'm more moderate, but I think the way the world is right now, it's so skewed that way. And of course, you can't be a moderate. That's another thing you can't be anymore. You can't be.
Yeah, you got to pick a side.
Pick a side. Which is some bullshit too. It's like some people that they're not, and I'm totally cool with people that don't, if they just stay straight up. I don't vote.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah, it'd be like if you were in Montana or someplace, right, and it was all red and they were all pro-life. You go, God damn it, I want my women. The women should have the freedom to go do what they want, but I'm a Republican. I'm
right.
You're obviously not. You obviously don't. That issue's important enough to you to cause you pause, but you still vote down the line. You still stay a good soldier.
Right.
Well, what's really funny is Chris Rock once did a little thing, and he says, I think it's so silly that you're like liberal, like all the way through, or conservative all the way through. He goes, when it comes to the economy, I'm conservative, because he's a rich guy, right?
Of course.
He goes, when it comes to prostitution, I'm liberal.
Exactly. And that's the nuance that's being lost. And I think that's where I was getting at with this subject is there's no nuance anymore. There's no individuals anymore. You're either part of a group.
Well, it goes back to the group thing stuff you always talk about.
Yeah. And it's kind of like if you look at the gay community, right? Mm. Like you go, gays, you need to be tolerant.
I hate the fact that we have to call them communities.
Yeah, that's another thing I hate. You're right, the community. Right. They live in one place or some shit. Yeah.
Thanks for catching me on that, because I fucking can't, because there's not communities. There's no fucking gay community.
Right.
There are individuals who are gay. There's no blind community. There's a blind center community in Vegas, a Vegas blind center community. But it's not a blind community. It's because they're like, there's no it's like, hey, how's Joe doing? Joe, well, he's the blind guy that lives in Texas.
You know him, right? We all know each other, So
and that's like saying all you white boys know each other. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we all have privilege.
I actually had this was funny. I was at some meeting one time and somebody had said something about making things accessible for blind people, and this politician guy goes, well, what area do they live in? Like we're all in the blood, the blindo hood,
That'd be an interesting movie. Blinks in the Hood.
Blinks in the barrio.
Coming soon. It's like somebody, I was born in the hood with a hood.
So let's see. Are there?
I would definitely go for that. I would go watch that.
I would totally watch that.
For the comedic value.
Oh yeah, well that's what it would be. It would be a funny ass movie.
It'd be the Blinks versus the Clinks. Like what's the Bloods and the Crips?
Well, the Clinks,
the Blinks versus the Crips.
Would the Clinks be the people with canes and wheelchairs? Is that
Yeah, it's like, man, we've been oppressed. Like there'd be some fucking
man, you don't know how bad it is, dude. I've been in this wheelchair, and you blind motherfuckers don't understand.
And then like Johnny got his eyes fixed, and they all, man, Johnny, you ain't one of us anymore. But I can see, yeah. Fuck out.
you ain't down, man. You ain't down now. Let's whoop his ass.
Well, that's the crazy shit that that's the crazy shit that's been happening, and this has happened for years. Like, let's go the gay community. Like I was gonna say, we got community, gay people, right? The gay people I've talked to,
right?
They always talk about how it's hard being gay. We're always discriminated against, gays and lesbian, and then someone comes by and goes, "I'm bi," and they go, "You're bi? Shit, or get off the pot, too."
Yeah,
like there is discrimination in that
within the gay group. Yeah.
Against within within those areas, I guess. And that's kind
Yeah,
of crazy.
I've known a few. I've known a few bisexuals who've experienced the same thing.
Yeah,
Like,
and
it's like discrimination within the LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
It's the B is always discriminated against, probably the most above all.
It's interesting. What about the trans people? Do they get shit too, or is that?
Oh no! So here's the thing.
They're kind of the heroes.
They shouldn't be in that group at all. They're taking over.
Yeah, probably not. No. Probably not. Yeah,
because there's no. But that's another thing. You group all the. Well, they're kind of different. Because trans people has nothing to do with your attraction to the opposite sex or whatever sex.
That's true. So who you identify as, I guess.
Yes, who you identify as has nothing to do with. Well, I mean, I think it does. It's a complicated subject because I can go
with sexual orientation.
Exactly. They're not related. Really. It's a mental illness with trans people. I'm sorry, it is. If you are fully believe that you are a man in a woman's body, it's body dysmorphia. There's no question about it. Yeah. There's no difference between that and with somebody who believes they're fat when they weigh 100 pounds and they're 6'5".
Correct.
That's like, yeah,
but that's another thing. You can't say that.
You can't voice that opinion because you're going to be politically
ostracized or whatever. Yeah.
And it's to the point now where that's another thing. Even those are becoming, I'm neurodivergent. What do you think about? Have you heard about that shit?
What is that?
That's neurodivergent are people, the group that's been forming around bullshit of people who are either autistic, on the spectrum, ADHD. You got you're neurodivergent. That means basically you're because that's and I don't understand what's going on with that because there are not as many autistic people as they claim there are because that's a thing. I'm autistic. Are you?
Well, it's the new flavor of the month, You
might know more about that, Lou, in terms of
the thing about spectrum in general is I could say I'm on the spectrum, but be on the very left side of the spectrum.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could say that I have everything. I have ADHD, I have autism, I have a learning disability, but I'm on the left side of all of those spectrums. I'm on the very far side of those spectrums.
Yeah, once every 5 years, I have a moment where I can't pay attention. But
correct.
Oh, that means you're ADHD, dude.
Yeah, right.
That means you're ADHD.
Right. You fit into that category, and so really, one of my many jobs that I do is I look at people's paperwork because I have to know, is this ADHD or this learning disability severe enough to receive accommodations for testing and things like that for students with disabilities?
Right.
Is it enough? Is this, will this, if somebody comes and tries to audit us and say, well, are you offering services to people who don't deserve it? We've got to be able to back it up and be like, no, this doctor said that this ADHD is severe enough to meet the
I see. Yeah, so they do check who you're serving. Is this person? I got you. Yeah, that's
right.
I'm a bit scared. I'm going to be honest. I'm not. I know it's not a popular opinion, but I'm so skeptical of all of that because I just don't trust doctors in a lot of ways in terms of the pharmaceutical industry.
Sure. So you think that they're doctors are going to get kickbacks from medicine, so they're like, let's give this guy an ADHD,
give him a diagnosis,
so they can start using some of these methamphetamine
drugs that they get.
Well, it's the same thing with SSRI,
with depression and stuff like that.
With those kind of things, and any kind of thing now is diagnosed. We'll go back to the trans issue and trans in the underage transitioning bullshit going on, gender affirming care, which is the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever seen. As a psychologist type person, hearing that's an alarms. A gender affirming care. That doesn't sound psychological. Gender
affirming your gender.
Yes, it's called gender affirming care.
This is something they do for kids.
Oh God, you have. Oh Jesus, don't. Oh boy,
dude, I'm sorry.
Well, here's the kind of the breakdown of this, and you know where I stand. You guys know where I stand. So, and if you don't, you'll find out here in a second.
Right.
But the idea with, let's say anything. I'm a devout Christian. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's say that somebody comes in that has, that's dealing with some issue, and I find out that they're Muslim, right?
Right.
I can't talk about Jesus with them because they only believe Jesus is a prophet, right? They don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God like I do, right?
Right.
So they can't. I can't instill my values into that person. I can kind of like, I can look up their information and be like, okay, they believe in Islam. Okay. So then I would kind of like spin the idea and be like, oh, what does Allah think about this?
Right.
Just to kind of get them to think about what their God might think about.
But it's got to be very general,
doing.
I'm assuming, right? You can't.
It does.
Yeah.
And so, like, to me, the gender affirming thing is like, hey, I don't believe in the whole LGBTQ thing. I don't. But at the same time, I can't just be like, hey, you just have body image dysmorphia. Get over it. Stop it.
Of course not.
Quit being a homo, right? All that stuff, right?
Right.
I can't do that,
Yeah,
I can't do that as a counselor, as somebody in the mental health field, but I can guide them through it. And if they come to the conclusion that it's wrong, hey, I'm happy. I'm inside. I'm happy. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Right. You did your job,
And that's the hardest fucking part about now is that people can't do that anymore. They can't separate that shit. You got therapists that are going for 10-year-olds that say I'm a girl. Well, we can't, they must not know like what their assigned gender is at birth and shit like that. And it's like, no. You're supposed to go, hold on, let's examine this and talk about it and make sure, not, oh, well, this is who you think you are. I'm going to affirm that. It's right. And
there's a little bit of a blurred line there, because in the same way, I can't say you're not Muslim.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're Muslim. You have to be Christian like me, because that's who you're seeing right now. You're seeing me. I'm the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Another thing that we look at is we're not experts of the person, right? We are not. If I have an addiction, person who is addicted to cocaine, I've never been personally addicted to cocaine. My dad has.
Right.
So I can pull from that. I can pull from those experiences.
But you can't really empathize like that.
You probably the opposite of empathize probably is what you have to try to avoid. I would think.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I get where they're coming from. But I can't be like, you're no longer a cocaine addict because I say so. It's like,
right.
No, they're going to have to go through a process of trying to figure it out.
Well, that's
trying to be sober and things like that.
Right.
But it's like the same thing with the gender affirming thing. And I'm not, I'm not going to, I haven't had an LGBTQ person yet. So knock on wood, I haven't had that happen to me yet. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, oh man, this guy's a homo. Great. I'm not going to be like,
I just don't see why it's like it's definitely more along the lines of trying to, like I said, trying to fit you into a group again.
What gets me about all this stuff, ADHD, autism, all this stuff has only happened in the past 30 years. What did we do before that? What was going on before that? And why is it so prevalent now? Like everybody has to have a condition now.
Because it's part.
And it's like, what?
Because if you do, you're part of the group. You got a thing. You're special. You're special because I have ADHD. I'm neurodivergent. I'm pansexual.
Yeah, which is weird too. Yeah. That should be just bisexual.
And a lot of this is fucked up kids with.
Bullshit. The only reason why the only separation between the pansexual and the bisexual, at least from what I can tell,
narcissism.
No, is this a bisexual will have sex with men and women,
right?
Who identify themselves as men and women.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
A pansexual will have sex with someone who identifies as whatever the fuck. So basically, who identifies as transsexual, I'll have sex with
a
you.
Cat.
Even animals?
Oh God, there's other kin, dude. There are people that go to school. Turkey knows someone who goes to school dressed as a cat.
Okay.
Who identifies as a cat,
identify as a cat, and that's what I'm talking
Right.
about. That's shit. That's bad shit, man. We're promoting mental illness, man.
Is that a kid?
I think that's the thing. I think that those are the people that we used to throw into the circus now.
But even
or the
like
insane
I said,
asylum, right?
Well, I think insane asylum is probably better. Yeah.
they're giving hormones to kids as young as 12 years old.
Yeah.
And puberty blockers and stuff like that.
That's
when I was
just
talking about the pharmaceutical companies,
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals,
Kind of like that.
Is that they know that once you're on those, you're on that shit for life.
Yeah, you're stuck.
And the same thing with I was in a group of a personality group. I do I like personality tests and stuff like that. I think I talked about a lot. Like Myers-Briggs and Jungian psychology.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Where thinker, feeler, sensor, and intuition, that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. I love that kind of shit. I know exactly what it is. I know the limits of it. But I was in a group with them, and I was in a chat. I went to this chat, and there's all these young people. And I'm like, man, and I just said, man, I just don't believe it's good to give any kids any kind of medication. You're giving them amphetamines.
Oh shit!
And they're like, no, I need this, and I'll be taking this for the rest of my life because I need it because I have ADHD. I'm like, what? You realize that you're pinning yourself to a medication for the rest of your life because someone told you need to take this for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, what the?
Well, what trips me out, and I've seen it in like real time.
I know. Yeah.
Is that I think the fact that they give it to them so young, it does create a dependence because I'll see somebody who comes into my office and they're all over the place. Their mind is like all over the place. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, I didn't have a chance to take my medication.
Oh,
like
God.
I couldn't buy my medication this month. And so things are just going haywire.
Yes.
And then I see them like 2 weeks later and they're like on top of their game. They're like, yeah, I'm getting all my work done. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I'm like, what's the difference? He goes, I got my medication back. I'm like, holy smokes.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of trying to find ways to make yourself more attentive naturally, to like meditate and to calm down, to take a moment and just because there's no discipline there because it doesn't have to be, because it's never the fault of the person. Like I'm going to say it outright. A lot of this fucking, I'm autistic. Oh, I'm on the spectrum. So you're not good with people and you're antisocial. Maybe you need to learn how to do that and not fucking identify as this so that you can say I'm this and I don't have to change. Or ADHD. Oh, I'm ADHD. I can't concentrate. Maybe you need to train your mind to concentrate.
Well, it's an excuse to not, like you said, to not do things. You know,
or maybe you need to lean into it because I see a lot of kids. And I saw this perfect example was when I worked at Bloomfield as a counselor. There's this kid named Jason Thomas. He was this little kid. He was fucking everywhere, into everything, all over the place. and it was like, God, he was all over. So he has ADHD. He's into everything. He's all over the place.
So you just had to accept that, apparently.
No. When they gave him the meds, he was almost comatose. He was.
Wow.
And maybe certain people are just geared more to get into shit. You got the quiet dude in the corner who's chilling, who can just have people come up. Now you got an example. You got Luie Loke chilling at camp on the slab, people walking up to him, chilling. And then you got Jason Steele fucking running around like a goddamn man.
Right. But he was never on any meds or any shit.
But my point is that maybe it's your personality. Maybe you're more like, for instance, boys are already more prone to like recess and rough housing, and they don't want to sit still when they're kids. Now, when you don't want to sit still now is, he doesn't want to sit still. That might be a sign that he needs to. No, it might be a sign he's a fucking kid who wants to get into things physically and feel things.
And maybe he needs to go outside run. And play like we used to.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's because kids do need that. You know, you did need to get your outside time, you're jumping, you're running, you're playing, I mean, that was just how it was.
But even that, like even the quiet and shy kids would go out and run and jump and play.
Exactly. They still had a need to do that.
But these kids, they're just into things. They don't want to read. Reading's fucking boring. They want to fucking play with the blocks. They want to throw shit at stuff to see what happens.
Right. It's part of being a kid.
That's how they learn. But now that's considered.
That's the thing. That's another thing too. Like when I think about like different learning styles of how people learn, right?
Right. Yeah.
You know, school kind of teaches you, oh, read the book, regurgitate on the test what the book said.
And then you know it, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you supposedly know it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reality is that there are 3 different learning styles. There's one that's visual,
Yep.
right? You have to
Auditory
see it.
and kinesthetic.
Auditory and kinesthetic.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people who all they need to do is put their hands on things to learn how it works. And once they do that, they're like, shit, that's all they were telling me to do.
Yeah.
Like I was reading all this material and I didn't get it at all, but
Yeah.
I put my hands on something and now I understand exactly how it works. Okay,
And I
great.
and I think we have all combinations. Like everyone has a combination of those. But
Oh,
because
sure.
I'm the guy who get the video game
Uh-huh.
and read the fucking manual.
Oh, see, I hate manuals.
My
Fuck
brother-
manuals.
my
I
brother's
fucking
like that
love
too.
manuals.
I hate
My
manuals.
brother's
I
like
love-
that too.
Yeah, I'll read the fucking manual. I'll get the goddamn toaster oven and I'll read the fucking manual of the toaster oven.
That's hilarious because I hate manuals.
Or I
think they
read the
confuse me
back
more.
of the fucking box. You know,
Right.
but
See, to
some
me,
people
they-
just
they-
dig in.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
confuse me. Like, you know, when you try to go to the help section and something, it fucks me up more. I'm like, no, I need to actually, somebody has to show me how to do this shit.
Show
I think
you or
I-
just let you fuck around with it. Right?
Yeah, let me
Right.
fuck with it.
I think I told you this story, but I can't remember. My brother got a stereo for Christmas one time. He's visually impaired too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
if you didn't know.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So-
I know him. I know. The same guy went to
you
camp.
know him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember.
So yeah, he was 6 years younger than me, so he's kind of like in the different group than we were. So he was like, "Oh, I got a new stereo, man." I'm like, "Cool." He goes, "So I'm gonna get my CCTV out and I'm gonna read the manual." I go, "Yeah, you read the fucking manual. You do that, and I'm gonna go push some buttons and see how this motherfucker works."
See,
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'd rather just push some buttons and see what I can find out. You know?
And it's amazing, and they both have their strengths, and they both
Yeah.
have their strengths. Like the guy who reads the manual goes, "Oh, well, watch this," and then he's programmed like 18 songs in a row. While you're like,
Right.
"I can
And you're
play
like,
play, I
"Oh."
play play, and go boop boop," you know.
Right. Yeah. You like the guy who does read the manual and gets into it real good. Like you said, they could do stuff, and you're like, "Hey, how did you know how to do that?" And, well, I did what you didn't want to do. I went and read the manual.
Then
Like,
again, the guy who didn't read the manual has been listening to music for 5 hours.
Right.
The
correct.
guy
Got
who's
it to
reading the
work.
manual is still reading the manual.
Hey, but sometimes those manual people come in handy because I know,
course,
fuck,
like
I
me.
could, because my brother showed me how to work my drum machine back in the day. I would have been stuck if it wasn't for him. Like he actually looked at the manual and was like, "Oh, okay, now this is what you do." So yeah, dude, he's the reason that I was.
So
even
you know
using
how to work
You
that
get
drum
impatient.
machine, huh?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
want to get into
I-
it. You
I'm
want to
very
jump
impatient.
into it and get working with it and fucking around with it. Well, I'll read the goddamn thing, for hours. But my point,
Hey, on a different note, what drum machine do you recommend? Because I like.
well, the one I had was a DR550 Mark II, which that's probably a very old.
Oh
one
God,
now.
that's probably. What are you talking about? That's 30 years ago.
Yeah, I was
homie.
gonna say that thing's probably way out of
It's
date.
probably that's Max not wanting to recognize how old he fucking is. It's probably
Right?
That's part of it too.
That's probably older.
I think
one, yeah.
I think I'm gonna age myself just a little bit.
Yeah,
by telling
when did you get that? 1992.
Hey, I got that one in 1994. God damn it. Okay.
I'm sorry, 28 years
Oh,
ago.
28 years.
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
than-
You know.
Oh.
But
Oh,
yeah, no,
by
that
the
was-
way, happy 30th graduation anniversary next year, bro.
oh, that's right. Oh shit. Yeah.
Ooh.
You know what though? I don't go
Mine's in 2024. So
That's where mine is too. So I got a couple of years, but I had
That's
to
right.
throw
You
that out
guys,
there.
you guys are behind me. That's
Yeah,
great.
see, we're oldsters. So as an old person, I can speak for both of you.
Well, yeah.
Because I can tell I can
Damn,
speak.
30-year graduation. That's crazy.
yeah, right.
You just think about the world is. It's kind of funny because I think back then, this is interesting. We're just running through subjects, I guess here, but it's interesting how back 30 years ago, like you thought, oh, 2020, it's gonna be.
Oh, you had your
What?
idea of what it was?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna be flying cars and all this crazy shit, and then we're here and we're like, oh, isn't that fucking different? But then when you really think about it, you go, no. But then when you really think about how different it fucking is, you go, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. We
Oh,
might
yeah.
not have
Yeah.
flying cars.
I mean, but we have phones that you can look up anything on the internet at any time.
Right. Right. So
when you used to have to go to a library, remember?
Yeah.
Library.
yeah. Yep. No more, no more of that. You just get on your phone or your computer or tablet and whatever the hell you want.
It's pretty insane if you think about it that way, like what really has changed. And more for me, this kind of goes back to what I think it's a theme of mine, at least throughout all these shows, is how technology has changed us as a society and as people. And it's like psychologically, we're not prepared for this. Evolution took fucking millions of years. Yeah. And right now we can literally find out when Johnny took a shit in Taiwan 5 minutes ago, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. I've got friends I could hang out with, like all of us right now. We're
in different time zones. Well, at least Luie is from us,
My point is we're in different places completely.
Oh, yeah.
If we wanted to, we could have a visual conversation. We could play a game together. We could draw on a fucking same blackboard. We could collaborate on music. We could do so much different shit that is just not. It's great, but I don't think we're equipped for this shit, man. I don't think we're wired for
it. It's just like anything. We are a social being, right? We can't live in a vacuum. We can't live in a little bubble, right?
Well, no, of course not.
But at the same time, I think, just like the internet is a tool, just like anything else, like a hammer and nail. I think we kind of went through this before. I feel like I'm feeling like deja vu right now.
Like you remember this?
Oh well, it's probably so long ago we won't remember. But it's true. Like we have gone through that.
But the internet's a tool, and so it's like people are going to do evil things. People are going to do great things. People are going to do stupid things, and people are going to do smart things. And people are going to do like engaging things, and people are going to do things that are going to piss people off.
Yeah, that's true. That's how you use it.
Yeah, it's all in how you use it.
It's like Eric Clapton. It's in the way that you use it.
But as a social species, like we used to, like I said, we used to be tribal, where I think that's where we're evolved for.
Right.
Naturally, is to be around a group of about 100 people that like that are and everyone knows each other, and they really know each other. We're talking about sitting around a giant bonfire, fucking singing songs every night, or eating communal meals, or whatever the fuck they were doing, hunter-gatherer shit, right? That's what we're really wired for. We're not wired for. That's why you don't have to eat 5 meals a day, and eating fucking 3 meals a day and the way we eat right now is fucking insane for our bodies, because we're not designed for that. But we were designed to fucking kill a fucking boar, eat it, and then have to wait till the fucking next time we had a chance to kill the fucking boar. Not fucking eating goddamn every fucking 5 hours, fucking every fucking day. It's not physiologically, we weren't necessarily designed for that, because
so intermittent fasting is actually a good thing, man.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
I don't do that, but hey, to each his own, man.
It's fantastic. I eat one meal. I eat between 4 and 9, 4 and 10, 5 and 10 sometimes. I usually have a 5-hour window when I eat anything.
Huh. And the rest of the day you don't eat at all.
I don't eat at all. I never eat breakfast. I wake up. I don't eat. I wake up. I don't eat till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then
sometimes I do that on accident when I'm working, and I'm like, oh, what time is it?
But you forgot. Nah, bro, I'm good. You do what you do, man. But
I understand. I'm not gonna fucking try to persuade you to do it. My point is that you are only saying that is because you're used to having this amount of food. We never had this amount of food. We were actually evolving to cope with fucking circumstances. We didn't evolve this. It's like if some fucked up shit about your fucking teeth now and shit. There's some crazy shit they're learning about, like over the last several hundred years. We haven't had to eat this kind of tough shit we used to have to eat. That's why we need braces and stuff, because our mouths are all fucked up.
Damn.
That's why everyone needs braces, because we're eating such softer food than we used to eat. So our mouths are it's crazy.
That's interesting.
Shit.
So it doesn't toughen your teeth like it should.
Yeah. It doesn't toughen your whole jaw. It doesn't strengthen your whole jaw like it used to, and that's why people's mouths are misaligned. And braces are actually terrible for you. That's a totally different subject.
Interesting.
But going back to the society stuff, like I was saying, it's like now we know what's, like I said, we know what's going on across. We know what someone fucking said mean. Donald Trump said mean on Twitter, like to somebody. So we're so beyond our normal limitations as a species for psychology. That's why we have so much depression and shit. And suicide,
because there's so much to think about, huh? Too much sensory overload, right?
Sensory overload. We're blasting our brains out, man. We're fucking. We all do it.
I talked about reality therapy a couple of times before, and the thing is that we do have a choice of whether we decide to spend hours online looking at that stuff, or just spending an hour online looking at it.
Right.
Limiting the sensory overload.
But the problem is we feel this obligation. Oh, I got to keep my notifications on because
it's a fear of missing out, right?
Yeah, it's societal as well because I think and I'm going to be honest, I think our society is sick. I think we have a sick society, and I think if you are living in a sick society, it's very, very hard for yourself not to have some of those symptoms of the same sickness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Because you can't get away from society. You can't get away from the overarching pressures of all that shit. Even if you are, avoiding it and going on an hour a day, you're doing that purposely, right. Like you're pushing against the shit. Right.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
What you're saying, like in kind of when we were talking about the whole LGBTQ thing and all that kind of stuff, what you're saying is that even back then in 1800s or whatever it was, right? Society was pushing the whole heteronormative thing, right?
Yeah.
Essentially saying you have to get married. Like that's just the thing that you do. Yeah. Being single is not the thing that you do. Getting married is the thing that you do.
And that still remains. Right? It's
still there. It's still here, right?
It still remains. People think they look at you, as less. I've been asked before, are you gay? You're not married? Well, no.
But the difference.
Why does that have to go together like that, though?
I don't know, but I have been asked that.
It's the dichotomy of guys. This is one of my pet peeves is that guys are all about sex. Guys are all about fucking sex. This goes to society again. Oh, all you think about is sex. Oh, you're not having sex? What, are you gay? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Oh, guys are always thinking about sex. Oh, so and then the insult always is, oh, you're not getting laid, huh? It's like, well, you're the one who just complained that all guys think about sex, and then the insult you throw at me is that I'm not getting fucking sex. So what do you fucking expect?
The funny thing about it. And I'm not trying to disgrace marriage in any way, but the reality is that you get less sex when you're married. Sorry, it just happens.
And I've heard that. Well, I've heard a lot of things like that. Yeah, and I've actually heard from married people that tell you, don't get married. I've heard married people say to not get married. And
I think that's a kind of an unfair thing for marriage. I think hopefully. Not hopefully, but unless his wife is listening to this, what you meant is that because there's a security there, and a lot of times in unmarried or unsecure relationships, sex is used as a way to keep the person around.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And of course, when you're living with someone every fucking day for decades.
Here you go with the decades. I love it.
Touche, man.
When you're living with decades, you get used to that person, but it doesn't mean that the love isn't there. It doesn't mean that
Oh no, that's true. That's true.
Well, you still love the person.
If you're listening, that's true. That's true. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's not. You know what?
She doesn't listen to our podcast. I can talk all the shit I want.
Okay. You never just sit her down and say, "Hey, honey, listen to the show I just did with these guys."
Hey, listen closely to the part.
The way he's laughing, I'm guessing not.
Hey, honey, listen closely to the part around an hour in, and we start talking about how there's not a lot of not sex in marriages, and that can be psychologically damaging for the person involved.
Hint.
Well, at least he never said anything like, after a while you get tired of the same pussy. You know what I'm saying?
That's the unspoken thing, dude. You weren't supposed to say that.
Well, you know me.
No, I mean, but
I actually don't. So.
Oh, I know. I'm just being funny.
I know.
I'm just being a single fuckface. That's it.
We're being bitter because we don't have.
You're just being Maxwell Thomas Silverhammer.
You're goddamn right.
Because society fucking tells us. Because society tells us that we got to be with somebody, man. So when you actually find someone that you're comfortable with, we're not trying to be bitter, but we can't help ourselves, man.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bullshit. We've had to deal with a lot. You know,
Oh shit, man.
as you know what, as a single man, I've had to deal because I speak for every single man, right?
Yeah, exactly. You do.
There goes that group mentality again.
Well, I know that's why I threw that out
As
there.
a single blind
Single blind,
single blind
male.
community.
a single blind man who has a limp and gout and ADHD and is also semi-transsexual.
Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I don't know about that.
semi-trans.
I don't know about Maxwell being trans. I
Yeah.
kind of highly doubt that.
Yeah.
He's semi-trans, man.
I'm pretty comfortable with the gender I'm in. You know, I kind of like having my dick.
He's semi-transsexual. He thinks he's a woman, but only to jack off to himself.
Oh, there you go.
Actually,
Yeah,
no,
only during my Jack fantasy.
no, there's actually I think we're gonna wrap up probably because I don't know, but there's actually a fucking thing where it's called gyno. What the fuck is it called? Where it's one of the reasons like women identify as trans or men identify as trans or women is that they fucking get off on themselves. Like they'll dress up as fucking like they'll dress up and they'll go, oh, I look so fucking hot. Look at my fucking feet. Look at my fucking tits. And they'll
Actually,
fucking
you know
get
what?
turned on by themselves.
Back when I used to get on the chat line, there
What
were
is that
dudes.
called? What is that called?
I used to hear
I don't
dudes that
know.
would get on the chat line and they would say things like, I'm laying here right now in a dress and and they wear women's clothes and it would get them off. You're right. They're getting off on themselves being a chick or some kind of weird shit.
Yeah. It's almost like the yeah, there's some weird shit going on out there, bro.
No kidding,
Let's
man.
just fucking
Yeah, we
Some
got
of
pretty
that
deep
stuff
on it
is-
tonight, man.
yeah.
But I know you're curious as to what this term is.
I'm trying to find it, but it's not
Gyno ejaculus or something like that, or what?
Gyno.
Actually, that sounds like a gyno ejaculus.
That sounds like a dinosaur. Dinosaur
it's like
species.
a villain in a cartoon. Gyno ejaculus.
Gyno. It's like a transformer.
Transsexuals, women that use guys.
And Transformers.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Were the
Auto
Transformers
twats,
the original-
transform.
Autobots. Decepticons.
Were the Transformers the original transsexuals?
Maybe
No,
so.
it'd be the Autocox and the Decepticons.
The Decepticons. Yep.
Ah,
There was Mega Schlong.
Mega Schlong. He's a fucking. He turns into a dildo. He transforms
Yeah.
to a dildo.
Well, actually, he's kind of like a hermo because like he's a cock, but then he switches into like a pussy.
Coctimus Prime.
Coctimus.
Prime.
Like, Autobots. Autocox. Coctimus.
Wow.
Oh, now we're gonna go on for hours.
Oh boy.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. On that note,
Uh,
shit. Who are you? I'm
This
Maxwell
has been-
Silverhammer.
yeah, I am Cruise Control.
And I'm Louie Loke.
And
that's
the story.
There.
There.
Bitches.
Auto twats transform.